Throughout history, there have been countless unexplainable stories, events, and moments captured on audio. These horrifying tapes were archived, never to be heard again. Until now. These are the tapes of trepidation. Tape number 65. A developer's own downfall. Hello to all that hears this. Mostly my therapist, I guess. I used to be a game/mod developer who worked on a lot of source mods. Mostly I made things for games like Half-Life 2 and Counter-Strike Global Offense. I apparently need to get these thoughts out. There's been a hell of a lot going on, and only now have I been able to get on top of it. What I'm about to tell you is what I've experienced when trying to work on my previous project. I can account for some of what happened, but not everything. Forewarning. Even if I have been getting help, I'm still trying to cope with the paranoia. So I'm sorry for any nervous tics that I may have in this recording. So yeah, to start from the beginning, I was working on a little campaign for a mod called Underhell. When I wasn't so messed in the head, I remember this game being extremely good. I wanted to make a city that became slowly corrupt and haunted, whilst the people living in the city tried to figure out what to do. The project went well. The city was made, voice acting was acted, and the skeletons were spooked. Forgive me. Humor helps me right now. I was just working on one of the first scares that the players get to see, but I was having problems setting it up. Basically, the player would start in a corridor with a dank, sodden grayish blue carpet and dirty beige walls. It was quite claustrophobic and almost seemed to get smaller the farther you went. When the player got halfway through the corridor, a door at the end of the corridor opened into a room where she was inside. The lights were off in the room she stood in, but you could see her silhouette in the leftover light of the corridor. When you got near the end, she'd start walking towards you, and you'd back away only to find that the corridor behind you had suddenly vanished. The problem with this was that the door that she hid behind would rotate a whole 360 degrees. It would go through the wall and she would keep bumping into it, and wasn't able to make it out. I tried to sort it out by making the door only to be able to be opened one way, and only be able to move 90 degrees. I thought that I had sorted it, so I started the game and loaded the map to test. And oddly, a lot had changed from the get-go. The floor was plain concrete, and the walls were of tattered wallpaper and scratched plaster. I closed it to see if the editor had accidentally messed up my map, but it was the same one as it ever was. I felt quite a bit unnerved, so I had a little breather and decided to retry launching the map in-game. It looked exactly as it had on the previous launch, so I decided, fuck it. and tried to test it even with the messed up textures. I walked across the floor, and all that I could hear were the loud, clacking footsteps of my character hitting the concrete floor. I was nearing the middle of the corridor, and I started to get very tense. I still get scared by my own work. I hit the trigger that caused the door to open, but the door opened incredibly slowly. I stood still in the middle of the corridor waiting to see into the room, but as the door inched its way open, I realized with a cold dread that the room was empty. As soon as the door fully opened, I could hear footsteps coming from no discernible direction. It sounded like bare feet on stone, except it was almost like the person was slapping their feet on the ground, trying to make as much noise as possible. I got incredibly scared by this and lowered my audio, expecting the worst. The footsteps got louder and louder until they were just as loud as they were with the audio turned up. And then they stopped. In the cold, sudden silence, I covered my eyes, lowered my audio even more, and tried to hear if anything was going to scream out at me. I heard nothing but raspy, stunted breathing. And at that moment, I couldn't take it anymore and quit the game. I deleted that whole level and tried to forget that it ever happened. When I finally got the courage to start mapping again, I set about remaking the whole level. I tried the previously mentioned part of the level over with first, so that I wouldn't have to come back to it later. All went fine until I tried to set the prop_dynamic. This basically lets you set which model you want and manipulate it in various ways. With the model of her, but I couldn't find the object anywhere. I searched through all the folders in the object browser, but I couldn't find the model. I decided to save my progress and look through the game's install directory myself. I clicked out to my desktop and got a sudden chill. The model, its textures, and even a PNG of her was on my desktop. She wasn't that scary when you looked at her, but the feeling of what happened last time I made that level came back to me. It felt like I was being watched. I put them back in the directory without any problem and just made sure to keep an antivirus looking for any incoming or outgoing files from that particular folder. I quit mapping for the day and tried to get my head clear. I watched some TV, and that's when my antivirus came up with a massive pop-up and an alarm sound that was only reserved for the grandest of dangers to my computer. I muted my headphones and took a look at the warning that came up. The antivirus showed a message stating that I needed to remove 14 objects immediately. 10 had a yellow alert, 3 had an orange, and 1 had a red. I looked at the list of files infected. Most were normal Trojans, adware, and the likes. But 2 caught my attention and made me freeze. One was called winlogger.zeus.icu, and one was called Femalx.mdl. That one stung my senses ablaze. That was the file of her model. I pulled my chair back, mouth agape, and I quickly made sure to remove the files. Those 2 files presumably a keylogger with a title of ICU, literally meaning I see you. And that fucking model appearing at the same time is no fucking coincidence. Not even including the rest of these viruses. I made sure I got rid of those viruses. Uninstalled Steam and all my games for it. Backed up the bare bones level of my project without any textures or models. And I rolled back my computer to when I never started that project, March 30th. The first thing I did with my freshly rolled back computer was install every good antivirus I knew. I did multiple scans to make sure those goddamn files were removed. I even thought about smashing the USB that held those levels. I was extremely tempted, to say the least. But I left it on my desk for the time being. After nearly 6 hours of scanning, I decided that my computer was okay, and went back to reinstall everything I wanted. I even reinstalled Steam, although not Underhill, nor the program for mapping, just in case this wasn't some horrendous fluke. I used my computer normally, and finally I started to feel like maybe I was safe. I went to bed a couple of hours later. When I woke up, my computer was already on. Concerned, I looked closer, but everything appeared as it should be. I used it for a while and looked for my USB, found it, and took it into my kitchen where I relentlessly smashed it into pieces with a meat tenderizer. I couldn't help but grin. I felt like I had stopped my creation. Well, to be frank, someone else's creation that I made something for. From becoming even more horrible. I went to sleep and woke up to my alarm the next morning. Today was August 28th, and I was already late for a day out. So I quickly got ready and was about to go on my computer when I saw I was already logged on. I felt a doubtful fear and slowly crept up to my computer, as if it was going to pounce on me. A folder called playergroup was opened, and a single text document was inside titled Femalx.txt. I clicked it instantly and saw only one word: behind. I heard footsteps coming towards me, and I felt the most dread I've ever felt in my life. I couldn't move. I just curled up, bolted my eyes shut, and squeezed my hands across my ears, shutting myself off from whatever impending horror was incoming. Something grabbed my shoulder, and I heard this horrendous blood-curdling shriek wreck through my body. I didn't even realize it was coming from me until the person behind me turned me to look at them. It wasn't her. It was a neighbor of mine. I couldn't face reality and my paranoia that had been ever increasing took hold. Maybe he was the one that the computer was warning about. I had to run. Maybe he was the one doing things that made me feel like this. I hit him and ran out onto the street, tears in my eyes. I kept seeing her on every corner I took. I ran harder, nearly getting hit by passing cars multiple times, and ran farther than I'd ever run before. So much so that I passed out just as my adrenaline wore off. When I awoke, I was in the hospital. I was shaking with fear. She could be anywhere here. And all these electronics could spell any kind of message to taunt me. I tried to get out of bed, but the doctor tried lightly to tell me I'm safe. But I disregarded. I pushed him down and tried to run, but security was called. I felt a stab, and then I woke up in restraints. I didn't see or hear anything. I was too stuck in my own head trying to calm down. And all I could surmount was the rapid chant of, "See no evil, hear no evil, see no evil, hear no evil." I couldn't feel a thing. I don't even know how much time it took to get me out of that state. But when I did, whatever clicked in me to lose those senses just came back. I could reason. I could feel. But I was still paranoid. I tried to disregard the doctors. But after all that happened, I was made to undergo psychological evaluations. The therapist told me that whatever I saw that made me like this induced some kind of psychosis. I don't remember giving answers, but he told me that even when answering, I said I heard her and saw her, that she was wherever I made her not be, wherever she was never meant to even comprehend. I don't know if I said that, but he certainly sounded like he was quoting me. I just don't know. I'm a lot better now, and I only see her rarely. Maybe for like 5 seconds and she disappears. I don't know how this could have fucked me up so much. My therapist told me getting this all out would help, but I don't know. In any case, whoever hears this, just please be careful. This has been tape number 65, A Developer's Own Downfall, by the Tapes of Trepidation Horror Narration Podcast. A Developer's Own Downfall was written by Leetgrain and was originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. Story is available under Creative Commons by Share-alike license. Narration, production, and sound design for this episode was by TJ Hodder. Credits for music and additional sound design can be found in the show notes. The Tapes of Trepidation theme was written by the incredible J.M. Scherf. All logos, banners, overlays, and graphic design work was provided by the talented Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you have a story you would like to submit, or a question regarding the show, please contact us at tapesoftrepidationpodcast@gmail.com. Support the show by subscribing and leaving a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcatcher, or like and subscribe on YouTube. And be sure to tell your friends. Word of mouth is extremely helpful to a podcast like this one. And check us out on social media through the link tree in the show notes. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Come join the Discord. Just do it. You know you want to. Come on. Don't make me beg. But seriously, we have a lot of fun over there. And it's definitely the best way to keep up with everything that goes on with Tapes of Trepidation, talk with your fellow community members, and also interact with myself, if you have any desire to do that, of course. If you'd like to support the show a little more, consider joining the Tapes of Trepidation Patreon, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to monthly bonus short story / micropasta narrations, the weekly behind-the-scenes podcast within the archive, and more. There is well over 100 episodes of content for you to dive into right now on Patreon, with more coming every single week. I have a ton of fun making the Patreon content, and there's stuff on there that you are never going to hear on the main feed. Not just the behind-the-scenes podcast in which I break down every episode, do interviews and Q&As, but also some really great short story and micropasta narrations that I really think you'll enjoy if you like the main feed podcast. Including a couple of stories that are maybe a little, let's say, out there. So come, join us, and become trapped within the archive. Just like my current patrons, Neil Skarupa of Neurotic Voice, Doozer Pin Dan, Ronan Kumori, Eric Phones, Patrick Stewart, Madam Strangeways, and Dr. Torment. Thank you all so much for the support. All content used on Tapes of Trepidation is either original, used with permission, or is available under Creative Commons by Share Alike license. All rights reserved unless otherwise stated. Licensing information can be found in the show notes. This podcast and its content may not be redistributed or rebroadcasted without the express written consent of Tapes of Trepidation and the story's author. Thank you so much for listening.